From 1996 to 2001, Afghanistan was controlled by the Islamic fundamentalist militant group known as the Taliban. This group was formed from the Mujahideen fighters who repelled the Soviet invasion during the 1979 to 89 war. During their time in power, the Taliban imposed a strict form of Islamic law which was very violent and oppressive towards women. During the 2001 US-led invasion of Afghanistan, the Taliban were dismantled and a new, highly centralized government was installed in the region. The defeated militants fled to the Pashtun tribal regions along the Afghan and Pakistan border, where they were able to take safe haven. In 2002, the Taliban began a guerrilla-styled resurgence. After 13 years of foreign intervention, Afghanistan faces a dysfunctional government, an unsustainable death and desertion rate for its security forces, and the withdrawal of foreign troops. The worst thing yet is that the Taliban is nowhere near gone.
Well, one of the main reasons was that the Taliban had a safe haven next door in Pakistan. So historically, it's been extremely difficult to defeat insurgencies that have safe areas in neighboring countries. But another reason was that the Taliban was a reflection of very conservative, rural, the political ideology of the Pashtun people who are living in the southern and western parts of Afghanistan. The Taliban has been gradually advancing. And so I would say that, Taliban presence has expanded in Afghanistan, but by no means do they immediately threaten the major population areas of Afghanistan, other than the possibility of occasional spectacular terrorist attacks. This year, there was a change of government in Afghanistan, which was a very important transition. President Karzai, who had been president for 10 years, since 2004, he willingly left power. And there was a transition to a new president, Ashraf Ghani, and his rival, who had come in second in a contested election, Abdullah, was also brought into the government. So there was a change of government. And so it was very important to re-legitimize the Afghan government in the eyes of many Afghans. So, part of the ability of the government to be able to fight against the Taliban is the ability of the government to be able to claim political legitimacy within Afghanistan.
The Afghan government is currently unequipped to deal with the Taliban threat as security forces face rising death and desertion rates. Kabul, Afghanistan's capital, has seen a rise in the number of attacks since the departure of foreign troops. The attacks have become so unbearably frequent that the Kabul police chief resigned his position in late November.
On to Afghanistan, Kabul's police chief has resigned following a spate of deadly militant attacks in the capital. The Interior Ministry has accepted General Mohammad Zahir's resignation. Kabul has been hit by nearly a dozen militant attacks in the past 2 weeks.
In Nangarhar province, the Taliban have reportedly closed 26 schools, leaving 20,000 children unable to attend. Hospitals in the most violent region, such as Helmand province, have seen a surge of victims caused by crossfire between the Taliban and security forces. These hospitals are both understaffed and lacking the necessary resources to fully treat its patients.
We have moved the pharmacy into an outside building, and we made a ward, and this was the playroom, and we have made it a ward as well.
So you're over capacity now?
Yeah, we are almost 30 beds over.
The Taliban has demonstrated that, even with the overwhelming presence of the world's most advanced military forces, that it's not going to cave in. It's going to keep fighting. So I think that we should be open to the possibility of the Taliban engaging directly in negotiations with the Afghan government to find some kind of way of creating a political space for the conservative forces of rural Pashtun Afghan society to be, in a way, better reflected within the country. And that might mean greater autonomy in regional or district level than we see today, but that's a longer term discussion. The Taliban has been pushing really hard in the last several weeks, and we can surmise why, or speculate about why it's been pushing hard. Because the context has changed, and because they want to be able to demonstrate that the Afghan security forces won't be able to withstand a push by the Taliban. So they're, in a sense, they're testing each other. Over the next several months, maybe it'll be a few years, there'll be a new kind of equilibrium will emerge, where the Taliban will perhaps recognize this is as far as we're likely to be able to push, and maybe the new Afghan government will recognize, well, we're not ourselves going to be able to defeat the Taliban. And that kind of stalemate, those are the circumstances in which negotiations usually occur.
Afghanistan's current future envisions territorial divisions. The Afghan government will control major cities while the Taliban and affiliated militant groups will reign over the tribal regions in the south and southeast. Although Afghanistan's forthcoming future looks grim, the new Afghan government under President Ghani has made strides in reforging ties with its longtime rival Pakistan and is open to peace talks with the Taliban. While we cannot determine Afghanistan's future, it is clear that Afghanistan can no longer afford to exclude the Taliban.